Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about the continued implosion of AAA gaming. There's some more details out there about the layoffs at Microsoft, and it's hitting Activision pretty hard, especially the Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 teams. We found it initially from Bounding in the Comics, and there's more detail out there. Bounding in the Comics has it. Phantom Wire has it. So we're going to talk about it. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, get woohoo if you do.
Woohoo.
Go out to Clownfish Minus. We have some content out there you will not find on YouTube, including podcasts and comics. And we got some more stuff coming. If you join, your first month is 50% off. And you also get a merchandise discount. Now, anybody can buy our merch, but you get a discount if you are a member of Clownfish Minus. So check it out, clownfishminus.com. Blizzard is minus many more employees.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's how we did that, right? So this is coming from Bounding in the Comics. Overwatch 2 dev Activision Blizzard officially axes nearly 400 employees as part of previously announced layoffs. What we did not know was who it was affecting, what teams it was affecting. Apparently, it's mostly the Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 teams.
Ooh.
And I thought Diablo 4 was actually doing really well. And Overwatch 2, there's a whole controversy about Overwatch 2. Let's see here. They said as the Western video game industry layoffs continue to roll on, things are fine, guys. It's all good. Everybody loves these games. Microsoft has revealed just how their previously announced workforce redundancy reduction plan will affect their major subsidiary studio, Activision Blizzard. Per various notices and filings reviewed by the LA Times, almost 400 employees from across Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 developers' various offices were informed that in the coming months, their roles had been deemed redundant and will be eliminated. Said cuts will see the loss of 140 jobs from their Irvine, California headquarters, 110 jobs from Santa Monica, and 143 jobs from Playa Vista location. Notably, the exact duties of these cut employees would run the gamut from accountants, software engineers, human resources for World of Warcraft.
Well, interestingly enough, it's not related to it is, but it isn't. Disney just had a bunch more cuts too, and one of the places that got gutted was human resources.
Yeah, so I talked about that. You actually weren't in that video.
No, I was away.
Here's what this is speculation on my part. This is what I think is actually happening. Human resources is ground zero for all the DEI hiring. They're hiring people based on skin tone, gender, whatever it is, sexual orientation, not necessarily skills, especially in California, right? That is the gate that has been left open where all these activists are taking over the company, basically. And the HR teams tend to hire more people like themselves, and a lot of them tend to be very focused on DEI. It is very telling that DEI officers and human resources people are some of the first to get gone, along with like social media managers and anybody that basically would be a minus to the team and not necessarily a plus. So human resources, it means one, they're not going to hire more
director of human resources for World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that is a huge thing. And I do believe that this is their way of we're going to toss some people overboard. And I've said before, again, this is just speculation on my part, but I think they're using the economy and the downturn in the economy as an excuse to get rid of people that they were too afraid to get rid of 5 years ago.
Well, it's interesting. They said the director of human resources, artists, the director of technology, game designers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Game producers, sound designers, and a game director and a vice president. It really does run the gamut. It really does.
Yeah. In a statement issued to the press, Activision Blizzard spokesperson DeLay Simmons clarified that these layoffs are part of the recent news and are not new. The roles that were impacted include mostly corporate and supporting roles and some impacts to gaming teams. So the news regarding Microsoft's decision to trim their workforce was talked about in September.
Yeah, I'm sure we already covered
Phil
it before.
Spencer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is just we found out what was cut.
Yeah, but the teams that are getting hit the hardest, Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2. And Overwatch, it's so weird. Everybody was talking about Concord and Concord's super woke, everybody. I'm like, Overwatch did it first, but it did it better, at least at the beginning. but then the people that brought that game into existence and were huge champions for that game, they got gone, and then they turned it into basically just another, I don't even know how many damn champions they have in that game now. There's like 40,000 characters in this game. It's like, I can't even keep track of who the hell's who. But yeah, they said they got rid of employees working on Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4. They said it's 3% of their gaming's global workforce. They also removed some employees working on Call of Duty Warzone Mobile. Well, that's not really a, whatever. I just think what's going on is they're spending too damn much money on these games. I mean, Concord, it came out that they didn't spend $200 million. They didn't lose $200 million. This is Sony, not Microsoft, but they didn't lose $200 million on the game. They lost $400 million because what happened was they spent $200 million on the game initially. It took them 8 years to develop it. And then as they're getting closer to release, they realized that the team they had in place, I believe because of DEI mandates, didn't know what the hell they were doing. So they had to go outsource it to another team.
So I missed
for another $200 million. And so it wound up costing them $400 million. And they pulled the plug after 2 weeks.
Am I surprised? No. This is like when Warner decided to do CNN Plus and they spent like millions of dollars.
It was like $500 million. Yeah.
And then they just like a month later, oh, it's not working. Bye. No. I'm like, what?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, sometimes I'm going to be honest with these big companies. They don't really give it time. They're like, okay, that's a lot of money. If we pull the plug and burn it to the ground, we can take the tax write-off and just say we tried this thing. It didn't work. That's why they do it. They're like, they give it so long, like, okay, nobody's playing this game. It's obvious it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, let's just pull the plug and we'll just take a $500,000 write down on our taxes. And so sometimes I have to wonder if this stuff doesn't pay for itself more as a tax write-off than it ever would have in terms of profit. Like, we'll just greenlight this stupid shit. We'll take the write-off.
Well, you can also, you can write up. I was saying, like with the layoffs, you can also get rid of people and say, I don't need you right now.
That's exactly
to get rid of the ones you need to get rid of, and then be like, oh, we're going to make a new game. Let's hire new people.
Yes, that's exactly. I mean, look, I could be wrong. But I'm seeing a pattern here with all these companies kind of running away from DEI, except for Sony. For some reason, Sony's like doubling down on this, I guess. Good luck with that.
But what makes me upset about that and like concerning is that if people just attribute everything to DEI, then people that are talented who happen to be diverse might not get the opportunities, because it's kind of like what we talked about with the Gen Z not getting hired because they've had bad experiences with some people. And I'm afraid that the ones that are really talented and that are good, I'm hoping this doesn't impact them negatively because of this diversity push that they did. I think it actually worked to the opposite than what they claim they intended.
Yeah, because I mean, we talked about this before with Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll greenlit some awful originals, and because of the backlash to those originals, which they basically I think was them just blowing the money on stupid shit, but because of the backlash, when they were actually given the opportunity to greenlight diverse shows that were actually quality, they didn't do it because they were afraid that they were going to get backlash.
And that just hurt those people who were actually talented, because you hired non-talented people, that were friends of somebody or whatever, and then it blew up in your face. So I don't want to blame everything on that, because I think that's it's easy to lump everything in there. But I also think that if people in general blaming that, and I think it's going to hurt talented people who happen to be diverse because of it. And I think that sucks. But
yeah, I mean, this is going to continue to happen. These games are not sustainable. I mean, you cannot spend $200 million on a game that takes years to develop.
$400 million.
$400 million. And then, Suicide Squad lost $200 million for Warner Brothers. I mean, like back in the day, they used to put out hit games with like a couple dozen people.
I have one word for you: indie.
Indie. Yeah, exactly.
That's where it's all going, because that's where the creativity is. That's where this is people, like, you're given a budget and you have to be really creative how to make everything work and fit within that budget instead of expanding it, tripling it or doubling it. And you're getting more creativity. You're getting better games, better stories, new ideas. Indie.
Yep. I think that the AAA gaming scene is imploding. They said here on Phantom Wire that it's a pretty good indicator that the industry is dying, but it's not the entire industry. Indie is doing very well, but we're going to see a lot of these, gaming journos get shut down, and a lot of these big, AAA titles get shut down. But people are playing old games anyway, right? I mean, like you were saying, like 75% of what they announced at the Sony State of Play was all just remakes.
Every other announcement. I mean, it was pretty much. I mean, you got a couple new things, but for every new thing, it was like 3 or 4. Remasters or whatever,
because it's safe, right? But once you have the games you want, you're just buying an upscaled version of it. Like, what's the point? Just play the old stuff. Gonna wrap this up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Join the reef. Go to clownfish-.com. That's clownfish-.com. You will get exclusive access to podcasts and videos and comic strips and more, as well as merch discounts. Check it out. If you were a member, you could get this t-shirt, this dismal t-shirt on our website. You'd get a 10% discount on that. You can also join in the community on clownfish-.com. Thank you so much for the support.